Hey everyone, Tanner Cherney here of Devil's Lake Tourism. Just wanted to check in this week, give an early ice report, what conditions are like. I wanted to give a big thanks to everyone that stopped by our booth at the St. Paul Ice Show last week. It was great to catch up with everyone, great to talk Devil's Lake. Awesome to see all the new exciting things in the industry, and most importantly, what makes our job fun is listening to everyone that has had great experiences up here fishing, not only ice fishing, but summertime, the hunting stories, all of that. Makes our job purposeful, meaningful, and we love hearing all those kind of stories. So thanks for sharing those. Thanks for stopping by. As far as we're sitting right now, big change in ice conditions from last week. At this time last week, we still had some open water on the main lake itself. But currently, right now, pretty much everything on Devil's Lake's pretty well locked up. There might be a few areas out in the middle of the lake where there might be some geese and ducks still that haven't migrated south that might be keeping some pockets open. But for the northern feeder lakes, right now where most of the fishing is taking place, it's got a little bit safer ice. You're talking Lake Irvin, Lake Alice, Mike's Lake, Chain of Lakes. Granted, it's shallower, more protected. We're talking anywhere from 2 to probably upwards of 7-8 inches, depending on where you're accessing the ice from up there. Again, varies so much by where you go, so always use caution, especially this time of year. Even if you're venturing into new areas where you haven't seen footprints before, take a little extra time and check your depths as you go. Main lake itself, we got very lucky with the snow we had, that we still had open water, and we had a lot of wind that moved that around. So hopefully it doesn't hinder any too much of the ice formation we're getting, but we had some single digit temps here for daytime highs earlier this week, which has been fantastic to get that ice going. And there's some areas where you're talking like the northern ends of 6 Mile Bay, probably like the Golden Pond area where you're a little more protected from the wind. Definitely froze over a little sooner, so there's some people walking out and venturing there. But it'll be a couple weeks here before we get a little bit more of that safety factor of comfortability of getting out into the main lake where those perch holes are. So I wanted to go over a couple things just to brief you on the upcoming ice season. First thing, a couple things that I always want to make sure that I have with me going into the first month of ice fishing or so are the ice picks. You see these everywhere. Super great thing to have around your neck. And I tell you what, the last thing you want to do is if you fall through is have to worry about getting out, and these are going to be a lifesaver to get you back out of the water onto the ice. So I always have those in my tackle box when it comes to not just early ice but all ice season long. Right now, when you are finding those areas where there's not much snow, ice picks, or not ice picks, ice cleats I should say, spikes, micro spikes, huge benefit, great for traction, especially when you're drilling those holes or just when you're walking. The last thing you want to do is slip, break a leg, a knee, sprain something, and ruin your ice season before it even gets going. Right now is going to be the walleye bite. Obviously the perch are going to be biting, but it's just a little tougher to get out to those 30-40 foot of depths with the ice conditions we have for the first couple weeks. You might find a few perch up shallow, but it's going to be go time for walleyes. We had a great fall. These fish are putting the feed bag on, seasons are changing, temps are dropping, and they're hungry. So I just wanted to throw out a couple options of what I like to use this time of year. A tried and true staple on Devil's Lake is going to be the Northland buckshot minnow. Awesome lure, great for catching walleyes, also great for catching perch. I like to tip that with a minnow head. You can also tip it, make a wax worm chandelier out of it. Especially this time of year, you're in shallow water, you got an aggressive bite going. Rip and wraps are a great lure. If you've never caught a fish on a rip and wrap, I highly suggest it. It's a lot of fun. And another awesome lure to use for walleyes this time of year, which I have the Tikka minnow here from Clam, but you're talking Johnson, the Johnny Darter, jig and wrap. There's a lot of different blade bait styles like this that are great for this time of year. And then lastly, we allow 4 lines in North Dakota in the winter, but a dead stick with just either like a banana jig, simple straight jig, plain shank jig, or a plain hook with a full minnow. So a lot of times, if you get into a cold front that moves in, you'll notice a lot of these walleyes will come into your aggressive style of jigging, and you'll end up catching them on your dead stick with a full minnow. So utilize everything you got in your tackle box. You can't really see it behind me, but I got a few tip ups, and I just recently got into that this last year. And those are another great way for dead sticks to maximize those windows you get, whether it's a half hour, hour and a half at first light and last light. Areas to target right now are going to be a lot of those old lake shorelines, which are going to be very walkable from shore. So you're not going to have to put in a lot of super hiking to get out there with all your equipment. So, you get your portable flip over hub style house or just your bucket, get into about 15, 20 foot of water, find some of those inside turns or even the points where the old shoreliners coming out, and you put yourself there at sunrise and sunset, you're going to find some walleyes. Other places to target, rock piles, old ditches of roads. Word of the wise though, be very cautious when you're, and use a lot of caution when you're in those areas, because a lot of those flooded roads do have culverts underneath. So you'll want to make sure that you're checking those ice depths, because there's a lot of moving water in some of those areas. So it's better to be safe than sorry. But right now is the perfect time to get up here, get your lines wet, get a little the dust off the reels, get everything ready for the season, catch a few walleyes, and you know what? Christmas is coming, and what better time to start planning that vacation for ice fishing than right now, as we still got plenty of openings throughout the season. So just wanted to give everyone a quick update on what we were seeing for conditions. The people I know that have been out fishing actually have had a pretty good walleye bite. Myself yet, I've got one last weekend of pheasant hunting that I'm going to take advantage of, and then I'll be hitting the ice. I'm always a little bit more on the cautious side of safety, so once I know that there really is some really safe ice, I'll be out there. But one more weekend of pheasant hunting, then it's go time, and we'll be getting you some on the water, on the ice updates throughout the rest of the season, and hopefully we give you enough information that your next trip up to Devil's Lake will be a good one. So thanks for tuning in.